Very good, Arthur.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Very excited to be here today and chat with everyone and learn a bit more about Hylio. I'm Ryan. I'll be your host, but very excited to introduce our guest today, man who needs no introduction, Mr. Kevin O'Leary, aka Mr. Wonderful. Kevin, really appreciate you being here. Very excited to chat with you and learn more. And then excited to introduce Hylio's co-founder and CEO, Arthur Erickson. Arthur, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ryan. Nice to meet you, Kevin.
Arthur, I'd love for you to give everyone an overview of Hylio, what you're doing, your mission, and we can take the conversation from there.
Sure. So Hylio is almost your classic dorm room story. Technically, me and my co-founders lived in an apartment. We were all attending UT Austin. I was studying aerospace engineering. And frankly, so this is 10 years ago, 2015, when we started the company. We were young and dumb enough to give it a shot, because if I had known how hard it would be now, I probably wouldn't have done it. So this industry has a ton of headwinds. There are regulatory challenges, which are still being worked through today. There is a giant looming Chinese threat. I mean, China dominates the market we're in. And I mean, the tech it's triple black diamond. We're doing hardware, software, and the entire services that go to supporting those for our customers. So what do? We design, build, and then sell big crop spraying drones. So these are drones that essentially make crop dusting better, smarter, faster, safer for both the people growing the food, but also the people consuming it. It's more sustainable for the environment, healthier to eat, and more precise. So there's fewer inputs going to these crops. So like I said, I mean, Hylio designs the hardware, we build it, we design the software from the ground up. This is not an easy task, and this is all part of our moat. I mean, no sane person 10 years ago would have taken this on, and that's why virtually we have no competition domestically. Our biggest competition now is these Chinese companies that have long dominated the market. But as you guys might know, in recent months, the US government has finally come around to supporting US drone manufacturers like Hylio. So finally, we're getting some tailwinds behind us, and we fought the good fight long enough. We're getting some air support, pardon the metaphor or the pun here. And I think we're going to kick some ass.
Love that. Very interesting. Now, you mentioned kind of a lot of the headwinds facing you. What challenges have you faced getting to this point? Were you always focused on large scale farming, or is that kind of through iterations of this drone tech?
We started out in a very organic way. We essentially were doing a number of different drone applications using our technology way back in 2015. Again, we were young, dumb college kids. We didn't have a super focused business plan. So we did a little bit of parcel delivery. We did some defense adjacent applications, but we were also trying our hand at agriculture. And agriculture, simply put, was the best fit for our product market fit, for our team, for our capabilities. So we made much more money doing agriculture than the other applications. And frankly, we just loved the mission, and we loved the culture and the people we worked with. So on one hand, we were doing drone deliveries where you're delivering a Starbucks coffee or a hamburger to some rich entitled person and you get $3 for it. Or on the other hand, you're helping a farmer grow food for himself and his community, and you're getting paid more to do it. So we really liked that mission. The product market fit was much better. The value prop was much better. And we, again, as I pointed out, noticed that it was a severely underserved market. So actually, in most parts of the world, they still do agriculture in a very antiquated way. I mean, literally, these people are putting chemicals out by hand in some of these countries. In the US, it's a bit more mechanized, but still, we're talking about tractors that more or less haven't changed for nearly 150 years. So there was a lot of room for disruption in agriculture, which we recognized. And naturally, we started proliferating that market more and more. So that's entirely what Hylio does today. But drone tech is, let's say, it has a lot of cross-industry appeal. So we do dabble in a few other industries.
Lovely. Now, Kevin, before we really dive deep, what are your gut reaction? You've heard AgriDrones and drones and agriculture, kind of bringing them together. What stands out immediately to you?
Well, this is very much an enterprise space and has been for over a decade. I know this because I do a lot of work in North Dakota and Oklahoma, two states that have a special dispensation from the FAA to test unmanned drones in all kinds of applications, including ag tech like this. There's no question that the reason this works is it's a productivity enhancer, a cost reducer for the farmer. Anything they can do to increase yield and lower cost is what they have to deal with every single year, because their input on revenue is a variable. It's variable. It's a commodity, and so they want the lowest cost, the highest productivity they can get. And they've just figured out over the last 5 years that drones can help us in an immense way, identifying, everything from disease to, whatever else is affecting their lands. And some of these breadbasket states like North Dakota, a lot of people don't know this. It's the breadbasket of the world for certain grains. And so it's probably this and other states and other places in the world where this makes sense. I love the opening with the regulatory issue because, Arthur's right. It's a nightmare, but it's also a mode of protection. Working with the regulator, getting cleared, figuring out how you can put these unmanned vehicles into flight path areas and do it in a compliant way is huge. I mean, it's part of the whole deal. And if you know how to do that and you build the operating system that is compliant with that, it's part of the IP of the company and very, very valuable. Because the more we flood the skies with these unmanned vehicles, the more they have to integrate together for obvious reasons. But this is one of the companies that's leading the charge. It has been for a decade. And I understand the overall statement. Entrepreneurship is hell, and then you have to get up and do it again anyways the next day, every day. You never get there. It's never a destination. It's a journey. Very interesting deal. There's no question about it. And so I'm very happy it's on the StartEngine platform.
Yes, so are we. Arthur, what's your business model? Are you selling directly to these farmers? Is it a licensing deal? How do you monetize Hylio?
So I'll give you a little bit of history. So actually, Hylio again started in 2015. The first thing we did actually before selling the product, which is what we do now, so we sell the hardware and the software as a turnkey kit to the user, either the producer themselves or an agribusiness serving the producers. But before that, we said, hey, we don't know anything about this market. There's no roadmap. There's no playbook. We were the first and still the only prominent American company doing this. And, we weren't going to go to China and ask DJI how they're doing it. So we said, hey, let's be our own first customer. So we were a service provider. We got paid per acre, per application in the grueling hot sun. For 2 years, we did this. So we were out. I mean, we maybe sprayed 40, 50,000 acres the first year, maybe 100,000 the next year, but a fair amount of acreage, right? We really understood the problem. So every time our hardware broke down or our software had a bug, we weren't making money. So we felt it very poignantly, like this is what the customer is going to feel once we try to sell them these things. So we worked through all of that. And I mean, it's 14-hour days in the sun. Often this was actually in Central America because the regulations here were still so prohibitive. So we were spraying and basically just grinding ourselves down to the bone by day. And then by night, we said, hey, we got to fix this software, we got to fix this hardware. So tomorrow we can make more money. So eventually we started making money and we said, hey, now we're confident enough to go actually sell this thing to people like we intended to. So now what we do, again, to reiterate, is we sell the turnkey kit. So we don't look at it like we're just selling a drone. We're saying we're giving you a total precision ag solution. So yes, the drones themselves, these are the physical manifestation of precision agriculture. This is the avatar, so to speak, but it's also the software, the way you interface with it. And then also on the back end, it's all the data analytics tools too. So it's like, how well did your drone spray? Did you spray what you needed to? Were you able to zone in on the exact problem areas? And all these things are basically packaged into one upfront cost. So we tell the farmer, hey, here's drone X. I'll give you an example, like our Aries model. Aries model with the software package, so lifetime license to our software, which we call AgroSol, this would be about $60,000. Now, for some of these additional, let's say, enhancements or quality of life features, so crop scouting, that might be charged per acre. And we have other things such as 4G connection, so you could have unlimited cell connection to your drones no matter how far away you are. This will be behind a subscription that the user pays, but they're happy to pay it. I mean, they're getting a lot of value out of these additional features. So it's a mix of a upfront hardware integrated package cost plus some ongoing recurring revenue. That's somewhat SaaS, you could call it, software as a service type of model.
Lovely. Now, Kevin, looking at this business model that we just heard, what stands out to you as an investor, looking at this company 10 years down the line and wanting to get a return?
SaaS matters because it's recurring revenue. You love that portion. You draw the analogy, Apple sells iPhones, but they get a much higher multiple on all the services they provide because you need both to work together. So you've got the software working with the firmware, working with the hardware. And also what people don't understand is the most powerful metric in models like this is word of mouth. One farmer telling another that the tech works is priceless. And that's how it goes. We have some investments that service farmers in various ag tech ways, and they don't trust anybody ever. They only trust another farmer. That's how it works. And so if you want to expand, you can advertise till the cows come home, but they want to see somebody using it successfully and getting value from it. And spraying is expensive. And if you get it right, you can save a lot of money and enhance productivity dramatically on output. So it has all the elements of what it takes to draw a moat around it. Because, people say, oh, you get a vertical business that involves drones, there's no moat. Well, the moat are the users. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to get them to switch from something that's working. Almost impossible, actually. And it's sort of, there's a whole business layer developing, and I'm using again Oklahoma and North Dakota where I see this happen, Louisiana too, where there's drone operators that work for vertical AI companies that just scan for rooftops, for example, or for farmers. So there's a whole generation of new jobs of pilots being created. There's a company called Fly Guys that do this. And so this is a sector of the economy that has geometric growth right now, not because it's sexy, because it saves money. That's why. The real value here in this deal is savings in a margin business where volatility is defined by the commodity price. And that's the investment thesis. Not going away ever. There's not ever. I mean, so that's really how many farmers will use this in how many states or provinces or countries around the world, telling the same farmers that they have a geographic location against, this is what I'm using, this is why I use it. And then it's very difficult to compete with this company.
So is that the number one thing you look for when evaluating an ag tech deal is how is this saving the farmer money?
First thing I do is I ask them, do you have any farmers beta or, that are using this right now? And I go ask them. I go talk to them. I mean, farming families, I'm a very lucky guy. Everybody returns my calls. But, it's sort of like, okay, you got 5 farmers using this for soybean. Let me talk to them. And usually it's some member of the family, the younger generation that embraces the tech, whatever it is. And I say, what do you think? And they say, good, bad, ugly. It's sort of, that's really, and then of course you need the executional excellence. I mean, Arthur's going to either make this work after 10 years or he's going to totally fuck it up. What are those 2 outcomes? But that's his problem. And that's, he's lasted this long. That's a good sign. But once you have proof of concept in enterprise tech like this, particularly in ag, you build a pretty big moat by all the attributes I just spoke of. And so I would hazard to guess that the fact that he's made it 10 years, he'd be dead long before this if it didn't work.
Yeah. Arthur, now we can't talk to farmers, but what are you hearing from those farmers, to Kevin's point, that you've been working with to this point?
You could talk to farmers. I mean, there's customers I could point you to right now that would probably be happy to answer your call, especially Kevin's calls, as he mentioned. It's tough. Kevin's right. Farmers are typically very earnest people. So they will tell you what they like, what they don't like. This is great for an entrepreneur. Like, this is how we improve our product. So we are very, very customer oriented. We live and die by their word, like Kevin pointed out. So if you do a good job, these farmers will evangelize for you. I mean, their neighbors will come. It's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. They'll be like, hey, Farmer Joe's got, a new drone, a Hylio drone. He did 1,000 acres this season. Really good returns for him, like saved a lot of money. And then all of his neighbors will buy it. So it's a bit of a network effect. Conversely, if a customer has some issues, even if it's not Hylio's fault, if the customer is like having a tough time learning how to use it, maybe some operator error here and there, you still want to go out of your way to really build a relationship and, maybe comp the first repair, whatever. If he broke something by accident, and say, hey, here's how you do it properly. Really put in the effort to build that relationship, dig that well deeper, and then it's going to pay out dividends with that word of mouth. So it's really important. We're hearing a lot of feedback, which is like, I love your product. Love how easy it is to use. I love that it's built for the American farmer. It's not some foreign piece of technology that it's kind of like a round peg in a square hole type of thing. They really like how it fits. But what we're hearing now actually is, I think, a good problem, which is like, we want it to do more. Like, how can you make this thing do 3,000 acres a day, not just 1,000 acres? And so people are telling us, bigger drones, bigger motors, bigger batteries. I want to swarm more of them. So there's a lot of good interest there. And, Americans love big things. They love huge machines. They want us to build bigger and give them more drones. So I'm happy to accommodate that for them.
Now, you mentioned something really interesting there that I think Kevin's going to be very excited to learn about. Your FAA-approved swarming capability. Can you tell us what that is, how you got that approval, and what it allows you to do?
Yeah, Kevin actually made a really good point earlier too. It is very much a moat, and it's Byzantine, right? The regulatory structure right now was kind of just hacked together from a lot of existing things for the drone industry. So you've got FAA, because these are flying devices. So technically the US government views them as an airplane, essentially. So FAA is ruling this thing, but also on the chemical side, you have the EPA, which is distilled down to like the State Department of Ag. So here in Texas, we have Texas Department of Ag. So both of these big organizations have some say in how you can use and operate your drone legally. So it took 10 years where we are today to actually figure out all these relationships and understand like what these regulators need to see in order to be convinced to give us these approvals. And so last year, as you pointed out, we were the first US company to get, to be specific, permission to swarm up to 3 drones with 1 operator, but specifically heavy lift agricultural drones. So there had been swarm waivers previously, but for non-agricultural purposes. So we got this because of our legacy and our leadership in the space. We had proven time and time again with less complicated feats earlier in our history that we were a safe and responsible manufacturer who has safety systems built in to allow for this sort of autonomy. And then so finally this culminated in the FAA being, okay, I think Hylio is the company we can trust to roll this out. And that was precedent setting. So when Hylio set that precedent with the FAA, other companies now can go behind us and cite that and say, hey, if we do it in a similar safe way that Hylio can do it, then we can also do it. So it truly was like a watershed moment for the industry. And I'm really proud of Hylio for being there and pushing the industry forward and having the tech and the company leadership to do that.
Thanks. Kevin, how much does that swarm capability stand out to you as you evaluate, a company first of its kind doing something like this in the States?
Well, first mover advantage, no question about it. I think a lot of farmers will figure out the advantage of that towards scaling. Getting the regulatory compliance nailed on that's pretty good. It's I mean, people don't understand how hard it is to deal with the regulator on stuff like this. You got an idea from Arthur that he was doing all this in South America to begin with, because it's so damn hard to get approval to fly any unmanned vehicle in the sky, drones. But I would anticipate the company keeps innovating out of consumer demand, whatever they want. You got to keep delivering. That's how it works. That's the value equation. But over time, the more of those, which interests me, is how fast would the recurring revenues grow. I mean, that's gold. It trades at a much higher multiple and worth a lot more. And also, the other thing to know about these kinds of companies is once a farmer or his staff or the operator understands how to use it, they don't want to reinvest the learning time. I mean, that's the whole deal. And so they're captured. And as long as you can provide top quartile customer service and your recurring revenue fees aren't egregious, they don't switch. That's the magic of getting scale. And then it's really hard to compete. really
Perfect.
hard.
Can you, building on what Kevin's saying, can you talk to us about kind of recurring revenue and farmers coming back to you for additional drones and how that's been going so far?
Sure. So let me paint you a picture of the future, right? Essentially, and this is actually building off our conversation just now about the FAA. So the FAA has been slowly convinced more and more that drones are indeed safe to operate autonomously for the most part. And in fact, there was just a recent ruling. They put out a proposed set of guidelines to fly BVLOS, which is beyond visual line of sight. So this is very exciting for us in the drone industry, meaning that drones can actually literally leave your line of sight as a human observer, which was previously mandated by the FAA, and go out and do long range deliveries. Or in our case for agriculture, they can go out to the far end of a property and spray over there without the farmer having to go with it. So this is really exciting, but you're seeing a pattern from the FAA. Thankfully, with companies like Hylio, providing responsible technology to the industry, they're saying, okay, we're going to give you more and more permission and let these things truly be what they should be, which is drones, autonomous tools that take the human out of the equation. So the next thing Hylio needs to do is keep proving ourselves and show the FAA, hey, not only should you allow us to swarm our drones, but you should allow there to be not a single human being at the operation site. So right now, the pilot still needs to be on site. He's technically, the pilot is still switching the batteries and refilling the payload, but we can automate these things away. And that's the next step for Hylio. So the final goal for Hylio, the holy grail, is we create a completely humanless system. Humans completely out of the loop for the most part for day-to-day interactions. You can imagine a shipping container type of structure. Multiple drones land in here, they dock in there, they recharge automatically. There is a mixing tank for the input. There is water. This is getting titrated in the right amounts autonomously, getting mixed up and being administered to the drones. And they're going out. There are scout drones coming out of here, identifying problem areas, and then the application drones applying the input to those problem areas. So this is all happening just in orchestra, beautiful, beautiful symphony. No people involved day to day. There will be people remotely operating and supervising this thing, like NASA mission control, for lack of a better metaphor. And of course, some maintenance people coming occasionally to refill tanks or check and maintain hardware. But it'll mostly be out of sight, out of mind for the farmer, which is the key actually to make this hit the the middle of the Gaussian distribution. The mass market adoption is when it's set it and forget it. You plot this thing down, you buy it, you're paying maybe a monthly fee. We're still kind of experimenting with how this business model is going to work, but maybe a monthly fee, or you pay all at once. Whatever it is, the farmer just buys it, plops it down. It's going to do all this work for him without him really thinking about it. And then that's when it's going to be truly, a household name and ubiquitous because it's just so easy.
Love it. Kevin, you hear this future version of Hylio, where they're going. How does that change this deal for you today?
Well, I think it takes it in the right direction. Every shareholder can figure that out. I mean, obviously, proof of concept and then to the model where you make it's simpler and more productive for the farmer is a winner. There's no question about it. I think the way to look at it as an investment is the equity today is the 10 years of getting here. That's very hard to do, not easy to replicate. And then the user base, which is proof of concept. But the future upside is the business model is changing to a higher margin business. That's what's happening here. And it's driven by, it's really an enterprise business. It's software-driven business, which has wonderful margins over time. And it's already proven in other enterprise spaces. But the vertical, this isn't, the great thing about this is, you ask yourself, what would disrupt this business? Would AI disrupt this business? Would AI somehow replace the growth of food? No. Could AI make this business more productive, more profitable? Yes. So you always look for things where they're not being marketed as AI solutions, but you want to know with certainty that AI can't wipe them out. It's not like, if you said to me, well, why don't we build a phone manufacturing plant because we want to, given policy in America, to repatriate manufacturing. I know with certainty that in 5 years, even less, it'll be robots building phones. It won't be people. Well, you're not replacing food. That's never going to happen. Now, do these drones get flown using AI operators? Yeah, maybe. Who cares? It's still, you got to grow the food. Yeah. So I like that about this deal. I like simple things that you can't ever ever change with AI. So you don't have that risk overhanging it. You only have AI making it more profitable.
Love that. Very astute point. Arthur, kind of building off of the equity today being the 10 years to get to this point, what has been the traction? You know, you sold 800 drones. I think you've generated over $30 million in lifetime revenue. You know, how has that continued to drive and really accelerate in recent years?
Yeah, so Hylio has been an interesting case. If you look at our P&Ls over the years, we made almost no money. I think there's a similar parallel to like Uber, for example, like Travis Kalanick. Like I think that was like already a 10 or 15-year-old company by the time everyone learned their name. They made nothing for the first 10 or 15 years. Similar for us, we made just barely enough to scrape by. And then it wasn't until 2019 or 2020 when the regulations in the US opened up. And let's say the customer, like the market, the American farmer was finally learning about this technology in the first place. That's when we really took off and started selling our units. And then that just
we might have lost.
Climbed pretty dramatically year over year since 20 now.
There he is. Okay.
Okay, back. Where'd you guys lose me?
For a little bit there, Arthur. But you were talking about
what was the last thing you heard?
2020. What happened at that point?
Yeah, so 2019, 2020, that's actually when the regulations, let's say, coagulated enough to a form where it was actually feasible for an American farmer to buy and use this thing. So the regulations had to be in place first for us to actually start selling these en masse. But also, this is when a lot of the spray drone technology first hit the U.S. market, not just from Hylio, but from some of these foreign competitors. So the market was familiar with the idea, and it just took off like, frankly, just like gangbusters. I mean, year over year, we've grown pretty dramatically. And again, this is like, we are a hardware heavy company. So you don't typically see, especially a young startup like ours, having such good growth, maintaining profitability, and, just taking more market share year over year. So we've been doing really well. And this is like mostly because, yes, we're strategic and we were smart, we were lucky, but the market demand is just so strong. The demand signals are so powerful because traditional ag equipment is it's a broken business model. Farmers are now out here paying $1 million for one of these new, big name tractors with all the bells and whistles. Sure, there's some, entry level ones that are $500,000, but this is a lot of capital. And so they look at that, or they look at, hey, one of Hylio's drones for $50,000, a tenth of the cost can do a lot of the same stuff, if not more stuff in different circumstances. And that just works. So the demand has been very strong. We've actually sold close to 1,000 drones to date. We are just now, so we just finished up a new 40,000 square foot facility. So we could do, let's say, about 1,000 drones per year in production right now, but we hope to be able to get to about 5,000 or more per year in the next 2 to 3 years, which would, I think, still only service, let's say, 30% of the market demand. I believe, based on our internal estimates, that the US market can support 15 to 20,000 spray drone units per year. And that's only going to keep growing from here. So the more Hylio can build, the more we're going to sell. Simply put, the demand is extremely high. It's way outpacing supply right now from Hylio, or let alone the entire industry.
Love that. And Kevin, just wrapping it up here, you hear this 10-year story of this company that's really accelerated in the last 5 years. And it sounds like, by the month, continuing to accelerate. Does that give you more confidence when you look at a deal and you hear that from a company? Does it change the thesis at all, or is it gas on a fire?
No, I think as an investor, the way I look at this deal is you're pouring gasoline on a fire that's already lit. And how fast it burns is really about executional skills. And what happens next in terms of how they execute, expanding production, getting up to 5,000, I mean, the whole idea is scaling it now. That's it. So, the other way to look at it that I always ask my team when we look at deals, how does this go to zero? How does it go to zero? And if the only way it goes to zero is executional risk, you've already taken market proof out of the equation, which is usually the biggest risk in a startup. You don't have to worry about that now. This is a proven product in the market with users using it. So the real risk is executional risk. And if you've been alive for 10 years, you understand there's probably enough skill to continue to grow it. And that's, in a way, conceptually, it's been de-risked from a startup. That's in a space that can't be disrupted because it's food. I mean, that may sound boring, but I love boring. I love it when it's food. That's what it is. It's actually a very interesting deal.
Yeah, we'll love it. Arthur, you got to go execute. Kevin, I really appreciate your time here today. Very excited to share this with everyone in the StartEngine community. Thank you both, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Wednesday and a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Nice meeting you, Arthur. Take care.
Yeah, likewise. Appreciate the feedback.
No problem. Ciao.
Yeah.